Top 10 Intriguingly Bizarre Facts About Pimps. First showing up in English in 1607, the word pimp is thought to have originated from the French infinitive pimper, importance to spruce up richly. Nowadays, nonetheless, the term has taken on a totally different shameful significance. By and by, a particularly disgusting profession has had a lot of beautiful crossroads ever. From the times of Caligula to the 21st century. The accompanying 10 investigates the profane hidden world of a calling that has been both attacked and venerated, contingent upon the gathering for quite a long time and maybe hundreds of years to come. Number 10. Caligula. As far back as 200 BC, prostitution prospered in Roman urban areas with massage parlors covering the roads, with no male family members for insurance. Most of whores were captives to their pimps, both in a real sense and legitimately. By 37 AD, Caligula came to control, making a rule that necessary pimps to enlist for both duty and distinguishing proof purposes. This activity permitted Caligula to acquire more cash for the express, meanwhile legitimizing prostitution as a legitimate business. Despite a significant change in mentality towards the sex exchange, pimps and whores were as yet peered downward on by society as second-rate class residents. Indeed, pimps were even excluded from specific duties that normal residents would appreciate. On schedule, the resolution Lex Julia et Papia would be established, further setting up sex laborers for social disappointment given the arrangements. For instance, the new law didn't permit pimps or whores to wed outside of the positions of ex-slaves, accordingly guaranteeing no self-awareness or not-so-distant future for one's grim life. Guaranteeing Caligula's administrative demonstration, such laws would keep on being implemented by future sovereigns for the following 450 years. Number 9. Players' Ball. Consistently, many pimps wearing exuberant fur garments and joined by a stable of whores assemble at Chicago's yearly Players' Ball. The November hoedown has been a custom since 1974, when it was established by the incredible Don Enchantment, one who asserts the Players' Ball unites individuals to perceive that pimpin' is difficult work, in spite of what the public thinks. There is no event or exhibitions. Basically a ridiculous gathering of abundance where grants are introduced to the more elite class of pimps. The honor of the evening, Pimp of the Year, is conceded to the most notable, regarded, and most noteworthy acquiring Mac. Deliberations over the rules for the victor are examined, frequently contended over drinks with other high-moving pimps before a last vote is projected. Different classifications but not as stylish are Number 1 International Pimp of the Year, Number 1 Super Player, and No. 1 Boss Player. Number 8 Possession. Valor of pimps is charming to such an extent that it boggles the psyche why any young lady would need out. For example, pimps will in general show their affection by truly stamping tattoos or marking their property to exhibit possession. "I consider it my conflict wound," expressed one lady who has her John's name inked across her chest. "I got it when I was 14 years of age, and he was one of my pimps." Such dreary practices are ordinary, as indicated by LAPD Vice Sergeant Ron Fisher clarifying, "It tells different pimps that this is their property." Apparent actual exhibitions of control are boundless, from neck tattoos with the beguiling "F.U. Pay me" to enormous initials inked on a young lady's face, marks stock that has been represented. Such terrible practices are suggestive of past slave proprietors damaging their property as though they were steers. Number 7 Castile regulations. Among the soonest guidelines, a part of codes one should keep all through Europe, was that of prostitution. Castilian ruler Alfonso IX, governed 1188–1230, was perhaps the strictest authority to institute such laws that focused on the individuals who benefited from whores. The codes were clear and straightforward. Pimps were to get 100 lashes for their first offense. For the subsequent they were to be exiled forever. On the off chance that they remained and were gotten for a third offense, they were shipped off the scaffold. Frank ladies who upheld pimps had their garments obliterated and were walked to the town square naked, where they were whipped. Landowners found leasing rooms to whores needed to pay an attractive fine alongside having their home appropriated. Concerning house of ill repute managers, they were requested not exclusively to free the ladies in their whorehouses, yet discover them spouses. On the off chance that they neglected to do, possibly they were to be hanged. Maybe generally heartfelt of all, spouses who undermine their own wives were executed. No preliminary, no inquiries posed, only a straightforward dreary walk to the hangman's tree. Number 6. Online independence as indicated by records from the Justice Department. Captures for prostitution from 1990 to 2011 dropped almost 50% in the U.S. The justification: the decrease is all gratitude to the web, permitting educated escorts to sidestep their Mac daddies. Such practices are not a snickering matter to a pimp, and in all honesty, very calming. In spite of the fact that still illicit as some other type of prostitution, police overall are less disposed to direct exorbitant tasks for one individual instead of a road roundup. The web is likewise welcoming for the women of the night because of cases that they will in general take part in more secure sex rehearsals and regularly have rehash clients. But when it really comes down to it, being on the web is undeniably more worthwhile. 93% of online escorts are free, versus 40 to 80% who walk the roads under the unlimited authority of a pimp. By and large, the present top-of-the-line accompanies charge $500 each hour and up, none of which is relinquished to a slime ball in an ostentatious suit and purple stage shoes. Number 5. Proficient courtesy. While professing to work as a business, pimps like to envision themselves as insightful finance managers with priceless information. In the event that business is acceptable, in many cases a base young lady is welcomed on to function as an office director, gathering cash while watching out for law authorization. If one of the young ladies in their stable decides to leave their pimp for another, a picky Susie. Business decorum in the pimp world requires habits. For the pimp that was stripped, lost a young lady, it is normal as an expert's civility that he get a warning, maybe a call or a Hallmark card, by the other pimp informing him any endeavor at counter because of such a blow, both monetarily and to one's sense of self, is most likely met with brutality, naming the attacker a gorilla or Godzilla. Understandably, the pimp world has its own verbiage many may not comprehend. Allow us to investigate a portion of the more bright terms in the accompanying. Number 4. Webster Dictionary for pimps. Pimps that pride themselves basically through mental control or by showering their property with endowments or warmth are known as artfulness Romeo pimps. However, don't allow the name to trick you, as the danger of savagery is continually present and frequently spreads the word about itself. This is alluded to as head cut, or in layman's terms, when a young lady gets a serious beating. Casualties who are undermined at truck stops are known as parcel lizards, while the individuals who have a place with nobody are rebels. Moreover, conventional pimping decides express that if a young lady visually connects with another pimp she is picking up, subsequently permitting him to formally take possession of her. Because of this, ladies who are spoken are told to hold their eyes to the ground consistently. In the event that the first proprietor, sleazeball, needs his property back, he should pay a charge to the new pimp. Eventually, the young lady would be compelled to work a lot harder to supplant cash lost in exchange, and assuredly would get it head cut. It's far-fetched such modern jargon will at any point be instructed in schools, albeit nowadays, who can say for sure? Number 3. Unceasing Rest. Raquel's Journey, a story of South America's Jewish sex trade from 1850 to 1930. Buenos Aires was loaded with many Jewish ruffianos pimps, having held on to command over the whole prostitution exchange. Bordellos lined the roads, each lodging upwards of 80 sex slaves, Jewish young ladies ages 13 to 16, kidnapped from Eastern Europe as survivors of illegal exploitation. With amazing associations, the Ruffianos felt strong. In any event, going similarly as strutting their property around naked for possible customers at daytime meat markets. As the Jewish people group's scorn developed, Ruffianos abruptly ended up restricted from local area balls, places of worship, and even entombments in Jewish graveyards. Expulsion from unceasing rest appeared to be considerably a lot for the pimps to deal with, driving them to shape the legitimate Zwi-Migdal Association. From there, the affiliation started buying land on the edges of Buenos Aires, at last setting up their own graveyard, following a tactical overthrow in 1930. So, all in all, the Ruffianos controlled 2,000 whorehouses with 4,000 ladies. The pimp ring was at long last crushed. Today the congested graveyard remains, lodging the assemblages of thousands of pimps alongside their casualties, covered one next to the other. Number 2. Pimpin' Lipton. James Lipton of Inside the Actors Studio uncovered a Parade magazine in 2013 that one of his first callings was that of a pimp. Indeed, you read that accurately, a pimp. Living in post-war Paris during the 1950s, occupations were only occasionally to stop by for the two people, hence, it was entirely decent for them to go into le milieu. Though he never had confidence in buying sex, Lipton turned out to be very close with a whore named Regina. It was dispassionate. Whatever else would have ruined that? I positively wasn't going to pay her. Also, she absolutely wasn't going to offer it to me for nothing, since that would have been my misusing her explicitly. So we were stuck, yet we loved one another. However, with no pay or future possibilities, Lipton had no real option except to get back to America when Regine recommended another thought, turning into her Mac pimp. Stepping in the shoes of his new calling, Lipton would move toward travelers inquiring as to whether they might want an individual visit, a sexual presentation. I did a thundering business. Lipton proceeded to say that he was not embarrassed about his new job, adding, "She was my companion. I was of help to her. Also, we made them astounding experiences." Number 1. Man-Eater vs. Pimp. Andrew Johnson. The reprimanded president. The 1828 race between Andrew Jackson and John Quincy Adams is viewed as one of the dirtiest and individual official missions in American history. The two once in a while addressed real issues, zeroing in additional on cowardly, low disapproved, and silly charges. Adams, having been a minister to Russia, was blamed by Jackson for being a pimp while abroad. In particular, Jackson's mission guaranteed Adams was offering house cleaners to the dictator for sexual administrations. Adams countered by hinting that his opponent's mom was typical whore, brought to this country by the British fighters. Jackson's significant other Rachel was mocked also with bogus cases that she was an indicted adulteress who was inclined to open and infamous lustfulness. Basically, everything now has been centered around sex, that is, until Jackson was blamed for being a savage. A handbill of Adams read that after Jackson slaughtered 500 Native Americans, his man-eater penchants drove him to eat many Indian bodies for his morning meal, which he ate up without leaving even a piece. In the end, citizens had the choice of choosing for office either a man-eater or a pimp. The pimp lost, with Jackson the barbarian winning in an avalanche. Thanks for watching World Top 10 channel. Subscribe now.